Hi, everybody. I'm Brad Silbert. It's Monday night. That means it's time for the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show here on Hamilton County Television. We had just one heck of an exciting Friday night here, not only on Hamilton County Television, but all over central Indiana in football. And probably the most entertaining and best game of the night happened over in Fishers on 131st Street, where the Fishers Tigers took the Mudsock Award back by beating the Hamilton Southeastern Royals 27-6. We're joined by Fishers head coach Rick Wimmer. First, Rick, congratulations on a great game. That was not only a great game for the Tigers, but a great game for the fans to watch.
Well, we were talking before, got on camera, just about the atmosphere at those games every year. This year was one of the best, and it's just our kids and our coaches. We all feel very fortunate to be able to play in a game like this. A lot of schools, a lot of football players don't get the opportunity to play in a game that gets this much attention in their communities as this game does, and just makes for an exciting game. A lot of build up, and I thought both teams handled themselves very well. HSE is a very well coached team by Adam Morris and their staff, and I thought both teams handled calls and disappointments and everything well, and credit to both schools.
Well, let's just step through the game. First quarter, couple seconds left in the quarter before the first score, that Marcus Rue ends up getting into the end zone.
Marcus, we went into the game feeling like we needed to run Marcus a little bit more and put in some called quarterback runs, designed quarterback runs. He's a good athlete, has very good speed, and I think it helps him get into the game a little bit. And that part of our plan worked very well. He ended up with over 60 yards rushing. We had three backs, counting Marcus, over 60 yards rushing on the night. So really good balance there. You can't focus in just on whoever's at tailback at the time, and so that I think that was by design that Marcus ran it some at the time. But he also, I thought, one of the best things he did Friday night was didn't force the ball on passing plays. He ran it more if he didn't like what he saw downfield, and was willing to run it and able to run it, and picked up a lot of yards just on quarterback scrambles after he pulled the ball down on passing plays.
Only 19 passes, but the most important thing in there is no interceptions, turnovers on the passes.
Yeah, that's huge. And like I said, I told him after the game, I felt like he it wasn't his best night throwing. He was a little under 50%. I think he was 9-19 or 8-19, something like
19,
that.
Yeah.
And we only had 70 yards throwing, which is the least output we've had in all four games. But I felt like he made some really good decisions with the football. There was only one throw I thought he made that he shouldn't have made and could have been picked off. They got their hands on it, and they didn't pick it off. But other than that, I thought he did a really good job of throwing it when we had open receivers. And he like I said, he wasn't at his best throwing the ball. He missed on some throws that should have been gimmies, but he did a really good job of not forcing throws and then using his legs to make it a positive play.
You come out of the first quarter with a 7-0 lead. Second quarter is a 0-0 tie going into halftime. How did you get your kids ready, and what did you say to them at halftime?
Well, first of all, I think when you talk about going up 7-0 at halftime, you got to talk about the play of our defense. Mm-hmm. And our defense has been very, very good all year long. Mm-hmm. And certainly in this game, they were tremendous, and they did mount a drive there right at the end of the half, and certainly had an opportunity to score. We were able to knock down some balls and keep them out of the end zone on that last drive, and then they lined up to kick a field goal, and Jackson Dunn blocked the field goal. And they had lined up for a field goal earlier, and We got a good rush. Jackson thought he got just a tip of it. It didn't really look like it was blocked, but I think he may have affected it in the kick, and it was wide left, and but he blocked the one right at the end of the half, and that was a huge turnaround. I thought we might be able to scoop it and score, but we kind of fell as we're trying to scoop it and ended up falling on it, so weren't able to turn it into points. But the play of our defense in that first half particularly was just outstanding.
I kind of felt, from my standpoint, as I was reviewing the game, that the defense that you guys put on the field was one of the best I've seen in a long time, and it set the whole tone for the game.
Absolutely. It's been that way every week for us. I mean, our defense has come to play every week. It's really dominated the game in every opponent, and it's given our offense. I mean, we struggled early in the season offensively, and we still struggle at times now. I mean, we aren't, every drive doesn't turn into points for us, certainly, but our defense has been steady for four games, and anytime you're solid defensively, have a good defensive team, you're going to be in the game, and then it gives our offense plays with more confidence, and as long as we protect the football, and we got to find a way to make more big plays, but we're protecting the football pretty well, and we're running the football better. With the last 2 weeks, we've really started to run the football well, and I think if we can continue to do that, we're going to be a dangerous football team.
I think that goes to the best offense is a good defense, and your defense did not spend a whole lot of time on the field. Although there was some good up and down action, but they did give the offense a chance to get out there and make some points, which they did in the second half, scoring 20 points.
Yeah,
and
it's the first time. It's the first time we've scored touchdowns in the second half after 3 games. All of our points have been in the first half. I think we did kick a couple field goals in the second half, but that was kind of a point of discussion really the last 2 weeks. We've not scored in the second half and scored touchdowns, and you got to be able to play 4 quarters to win. And we felt like this was going to be a 4-quarter game. If we didn't play well in the third and fourth quarter, then we're going to have a hard time winning it. And especially from an offensive standpoint, I mean, we've been playing pretty well defensively for 4 quarters, but we hadn't done it from an offensive standpoint. So it was big for us to get 3 scores in the third quarter. And really, I thought our offensive line took over. I just felt like they were really gaining confidence, and our running backs running very well, and we threw it, just enough to keep them honest. So.
Well, I know one of the concerns you had previously was turnovers, and on passing, no interceptions, no fumbles.
Yeah, that's certainly big, and we got 2 turnovers from our defense, I think. So, and a block kick, so 2 block kicks really. So, when you're doing those kind of things, then that helps you win football games certainly.
Now, one of the other concerns you'd had earlier in the season was penalties, and you guys took 9 penalties for, I believe, 89 yards in the game.
Yeah, the first week of the season we had I think we had 6 or 7 penalties in that first game against North Central, which I thought was, some of them were silly penalties that we shouldn't have. This game we had far too many penalties. We had had an unnecessary roughness. We had just an unsportsmanlike conduct. We had a pass interference. We had a couple holds. Those kind of things are going to happen, but you can't. The drive that they at the end of the half was helped along by 3 penalties on our defense. So that's something that you've got to, you can't have those kind of things. It really helped them sustain drive and get a drive started. And so we've talked about that, and we got to coach against that and make sure we're not giving the other team extra help.
Well, the Tigers are off to a 4-0 start, and really for all practical purposes, with the exception of Pike, you've had some halfway decent competition out there.
Oh yeah, well, North Central, I think, has a very good defense, and they struggled early offensively. Looks like they're, Kevin O'Shea is as good offensive coach as there is in Indiana. They're going to get that thing going the right direction. I think they've already made strides. HSE was I thought a really as good a passing team as we'll see. I mean, they have two outstanding receivers in Boyson and Rhodes, and Hobson at quarterback has been playing very well, and he thought he played very well against us. And they're not great running the ball, but they're doing it enough and effectively enough that you can't just play the pass. I mean, you got to play the run. I thought our defense did a good job of playing the run. And defensively, I thought their front seven on defense was very solid. I was a little bit surprised that we did run the ball as well as we did late in the game, but I thought their defense was a good, solid defense. So I mean, they're 1-3 right now, but I have a feeling they're going to win some games here down the road. And, our league is just, I mean, you can be pretty good and only win 2 or 3 games in this conference. So it's there's a lot of football to be played for sure.
And it doesn't get any easier for the Tigers, Coach, with going to Brownsburg this coming Friday and then returning home for Avon. We'll talk about Avon next week, but Brownsburg coming off a 7-3 loss to Avon, and everybody I talked to Saturday couldn't believe that game ended up 7-3. I think people thought it was going to be close, but I think everybody thought there'd be a lot more scoring in that game. But
count me in that group. But you've got those are two good defenses as well as 2 good offenses. But a rivalry game like that, sometimes the defense comes out and both teams made some mistakes, just enough mistakes to keep them from sustaining drives and keep them from scoring. I think one team had 9 punts and the other team had 8 punts on the night. But I as I was watching the game, it didn't seem like there were a lot of 3 and outs. It seemed like they moved the ball a little bit.
Yeah, I was watching it Friday night on game day, and the ball was moving up and down the field, and each team seemed to have some opportunities. But Avon had a huge penalty in the first half that took them out of a.
They had a touchdown, a long touchdown run on the I don't know, 3rd or 4th play of the game. It was called back. And,
So how are you guys preparing for Brownsburg and Mr. Easters?
Yeah, we're preparing like we do every week, and I think the big thing now is you just got to understand the thing we're talking to our kids about right now is being 4-0 is great, but you got to understand how far we've got to go to really be a really good team, and we're a decent team right now, but we've got some really some tough challenges ahead of us, and we've got so many areas that we need to improve and we can improve on, and there's just too much work to be done to sit back and be too happy about where you're at. We got to keep looking ahead and just be able to visualize where we need to go and what we need to do to get there. We've got lots of work to do.
We'll be watching that game Friday night on the not only on game day here on Hamilton County Television, but your Fisher Sports Network will have that live, so people can keep an eye on it. Thanks very much for joining us today, Rick. Good to see you as usual. Good luck on Friday night. That's Coach Rick Wimmer of the Fishers Tigers. We'll be back after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville, if you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore? It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Coaches Show here on Hamilton County Television. I'm Brad Silbert. We are joined by Hamilton, now I was going to say Hamilton Southeastern because Adam Morris is usually second, but he's not here. But we are joined by Noblesville Millers assistant coach Chris Radican here, sitting in tonight for Justin. And Chris, it was a tough trip over to Westfield.
It really was. First of all, that place is always tough to play. It's a great atmosphere. They do a great job. Their game day festivities are second to none in our conference, and they have a great facility and the way they perform their Friday night, festivities, they do a great job. And plus, their teams are always fired up, and they start pretty fast out of the gate, so they're tough to deal with. We struggle with that a little bit, but overall, I'm sure we'll talk about this. Our kids really got better as the game went on, I thought, and played with a little bit more enthusiasm, a little bit more passion. We're excited about that. There's a positive. So.
Well, it took half a game for you guys to get on the scoreboard, but you did manage to get a couple touchdowns in the second half. But the Shamrocks came out not real early, but in the first quarter they ended up with a couple different scores. Second quarter, another score in that. And that kind of set the tone for the game for you guys.
It really did. And like I said, they always come out fast. Westfield does, in my opinion, and in my experience. They come out fast, and with some of the RPO stuff they do, and their big running back, they were able to take advantage of some stuff that we did. We settled in at halftime, made some adjustments, and we played a little bit better in the second half.
Played them even at 14-14
right.
Second half.
And and that's kind of been the case the past couple of weeks with Fishers and Westfield. We both kind of made adjustments at halftime. One of the things we preached all week last week in practice was starting better, not spotting teams 14 or 21 points. And if we do that, we're going to be in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, we didn't follow that plan to a T like we should have on Friday night. But again, we did respond at halftime, and our kids really came out fired up in the second half.
Well, that second half, and for the game, Barrett was 6 for 18, 58 yards, but rushing-wise, much better results on the ground. 35 carries, 171 yards. So that was, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. The passing was 35 for 171 yards. Let me start again. Rushing, 35 rushes, 171 yards, 274 passing. Now I've got it correct. In that. So, you've got to be happy with the balance in the attack there.
Well, I think the change in quarterback was something that we saw. We saw some athleticism in Jaden, and something that we thought he could provide a spark to our offense, and he did that. We were able to put together some drives, eat up some clock, keep their offense off the field, and all the while he was productive and made some plays, and we're pretty happy with him. And he's healthy this week, and so we're going to roll with him again, and he's going to, again, we think he'll do a pretty good job.
Rushing-wise, Barrett held the ball for 18 plays and 102 yards, and against a defense normally that's pretty tough, Westfield, that's got to be a good accomplishment.
5 a carry, and I'm not a math major, but that's about 5 a carry. He did a pretty good job. He runs the ball well, he reads well, makes good cuts, keeps himself safe, and he's not the biggest kid on the field, but he runs hard, and he's not afraid to take a hit or give a hit, so he does a good job.
The other the other things we always look at, of course, we look at fumbles, no fumbles.
No turnovers.
Unfortunately, there was one interception in that, but as far as the other turnovers, that's got to be another positive for you.
And that's one of our goals, no turnovers. We did have the one at the goal line at the end of the half. It was an errant throw. It's one of those things we were trying to get a touchdown at the end of the half, and he threw it to the other kid. I don't think they scored on that after that interception. They took a knee, so it didn't hurt us. But again, we would like that number to be 0, but one's better than 2, and obviously better more than that. So.
Well, anytime that you can do anything against Cam Simmons, that's pretty good. I mean, even though he only threw the ball 23 times, he did complete 20 of those passes.
I know it's funny. We were rolling into game week last weekend for Westfield, and the first thing I said is, "Gosh, he didn't graduate yet." I mean, he's a great player. He's big. He's strong. He's athletic. He makes great decisions. He's got a real a poise about him, a moxie about him that he's a field general for them. He does a great job in their scheme. He's a fun kid to watch. Unfortunately, we were on the wrong side watching him. So.
Well, this week you're back home, and the Zionsville Eagles come to town. Let's just talk a little bit about the Eagles, and you should be very familiar with them.
I am a little familiar with them,
having spent a little bit of time there.
So I was their D-line coach, and I've moved since taking the defensive line job at Noblesville. I was there under Pat Echeverria, their old coach, who left to go to Pike. Their new coach, Scott Turnquist, is a great coach. Came from Carmel. He's offensive coordinator at Carmel. Does a great job. Has a great staff around him. As far as personnel-wise, they have a returning quarterback that started a lot of games for them, Cole Wiseman.
Yeah.
Connor Price kid is the running back, number 33. It's really good, really good.
How do you stop him?
Just a sophomore. Well, first of all, you need to catch him. Then you need to tackle him. But so he's going to be tough. So we're going to have to stay gap sound, tackle well, pursuit of the ball, gang tackle, all those things. I know those are all cliches, but we're going to have to do a good job getting to the football and finishing plays.
Of course, you were telling us before the show started that you as a freshman last year when you were over at Zionsville, you guys kept him out for, I believe you said, the first 5 games.
Well, we started weaning him off the freshman team into the varsity.
And I guess maybe one of the best kept secrets all of a sudden came out, and everybody was probably going, "Wow, who is this kid?"
Yeah, he's really good. He's big, he's strong, and he's fast, and he runs hard. Like I told somebody else the other day, he's not afraid to run around people or through people. He really doesn't. He plays physical, more physical than any sophomore I've seen in a while.
What do you have to do defensively to keep up with the Eagles?
We'll have to,
other than stop him.
Correct. We're going to have to stop the play action. So our back end of our defense is going to have to play sound defense. Nobody behind him, obviously. Our linebackers going to have to make good reads on their keys. D linemen are going to have to play that. They have a big, physical, strong offensive line. We're going to have to play our gaps well, pursuit of the ball, get off blocks, things like that.
Let's talk about the offense and what do we have to do to put points on the board this week?
So we got to put them in a bind. They're going to make adjustments. Their defensive coordinator is their old head coach, Larry McWhorter. So he runs what he runs. They're going to run the same thing they used to run back in the day when he was the head coach. And so they will adjust to formations at times. At times they're going to stay home and force you to do things that you don't want to do. Coach McWhorter's a great defensive mind. He's done a great job, and they will. We're gonna have to put that. We have to outflank them at times, and then also we're just gonna have to pound the ball sometimes and get up after them. They've got a youngish D line, some kids that haven't played, not a lot of experience up front. Linebackers are also a little bit inexperienced. They graduated a lot from that team last year, so but they do have a really good strong safety. He started every game last year, and a couple of their corners started a lot last year. So they've got some experience on the back end. Up front, the box is not going to be as strong, but they will play hard. They're Zionsville kids. They play hard. They play smart. They play fast. They'll tackle well, and they'll be gap sound the whole night. So we're going to have to put them in a bind, force them to make some decisions on where they're going to go and who they're going to cover. So
one of my favorite questions to ask a coach the first time I get to interview him is, tell me your impressions overall of the HCC.
Boy, it's tough. There are no off weeks. I was talking to a buddy of mine who coaches down in southern Indiana, and his first question, well, who you got this week? You got Notre Dame? you know. And I mean, every week it's, you know, I mean, you talk about the schedule. Everybody knows the schedule. It's Avon, Brownsburg, HSE, Fishers, Westfield, Zionsville, FC. I mean, there are no weeks off. And then with our non-conference schedule, I mean, it's crazy. We had Cathedral and Carmel, so there are no off weeks. The HCC, I know people love the MIC. Everybody talks about the MIC, and it's a great conference, but we're right there with them. I mean, maybe we don't have the talent, but boy, our top to bottom, we're as good as any conference around, and it's tough.
I would most definitely agree with that. This is Chris Radican, the defensive line coach for the Noblesville Millers. Coach, thank you for joining us tonight, and good luck against the Eagles on Friday night.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with more on the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville, if you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. We're joined by Hamilton Heights Huskies head coach John Kirchner. And first of all, Coach, congratulations on finally getting into the win column, and congratulations for a good victory there over Northwestern. That's not a slouch program at all.
No, they've been a storied program, and usually been a pretty good competitive team for us.
Well, you guys didn't let any grass grow under your feet at all, coming out with 14 points in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. What was your plan? Try to establish that game right away and get that lead and kind of, shall we say, maybe cruise a little from there, or just keep going?
No, not from a cruising standpoint. We definitely wanted to get out and get early. I mean, get going early. I mean, you know, from where we are and our standpoint in the season and the games that we've had and how they've gone out, we needed to get some momentum going early. We needed to get some confidence early. So, for sure, 100%, we wanted to get going and get it rolling early, and we did that from a defense standpoint. We didn't open the game with a fumble recovery on their own 7-yard line, and we punched it in right away. And so that was a really big deal for us. Not only get the turnover, but score off of it.
Let's talk about some of the personnel that you had out there on the offensive side. Your quarterback seems to be coming right along and doing the job for you.
Mm-hmm. He's a junior, and he is definitely progressing, I think, each week. We as a team still, we have some things that we need to fix still always, but he is. We've got a lot of young guys. There's 2 sophomores on the offensive line. We're playing a couple of running backs. They're seniors, but You know, we got a sophomore that rotates in, so we've got a lot of young guys mixed in with a lot of very well-rounded older talent.
And as I was looking at the summary of the game, it looks like you guys mixed it up fairly well between run and pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we a couple rushing touchdowns, a couple passing touchdowns. We had an interception for a touchdown. Having a pick six was a huge deal for us. That's a huge deal for the defense. So it's been a long time since we've scored probably about 2 years since we've scored a touchdown on defense. And also 4 touchdowns on offense in the first half was
Yeah, it looks
pretty
like
awesome.
rushing wise, you guys averaged a little bit over 3 yards per carry, and total of 208 with no interceptions.
Yeah, and that was a big deal. And we've been much better on turnovers this year, and that's been one of the things we've been able to hang our hat on. I know we haven't gotten the wins, but one of the major vast improvements from last year to this year is the decrease in turnovers overall.
You shut out Northwestern 36-0. I mean, basically, for all practical purposes, by halftime the game was
Yeah, it
pretty
was
much
33
over.
to nothing at half. We
What,
kicked the field goal right away afterwards, and that played the running clock afterwards.
What did you see in Northwestern that kind of piqued your interest as far as how you're going to set up your defense?
I think our athleticism. You know, we thought our athleticism on the edges would give their offense fits, and it did. And we were even better off when our D-line, especially our interior D-linemen, were able to disrupt some things before things got going. But our ability to cover the edge, like we did Friday night, was a key factor in how we played defense Friday night.
Now, you guys scored 36. They scored nothing on that, and a lot of people would look at that and they'll look at, hey, boy, you had a great game offensively, but that that defense being able to hold them scoreless, that's quite an accomplishment. A couple shout outs for a couple of the players for me.
Honestly, I would say a couple guys that stick out would be Blake Wable and Deshaun King. Those two, from a linebacker standpoint, were phenomenal. But it's also I've got to get a shout out to the entire varsity defense, whoever played, because even as a coaching staff, we pick different defensive players a week, offensive players a week, things like that. But we chose the entire defense as the defensive player of the week because we thought it was such a well-rounded, well-done job by so many different players. But yeah, I would definitely say that Blake Wable and Deshaun King, kind of led the charge Friday night.
Now, you had a situation where just a week ago you went to West Lafayette and you guys got your clock clean, period. I mean, it wasn't pretty. You come back the following week and just turn things absolutely around. What do you credit to that turnaround?
I credit the kids. Realistically, their undying will to compete each week, and their willingness to get better, and to really just move on. Like, it is what it is. We learned from our mistakes that we made, and I think we adjusted to some of those mistakes and wanted to take the opportunity to capitalize on last week's opportunity. Because what's in the past is in the past, and you can't change. You can only learn from it and move forward. And that's how you respond from getting knocked back down, or getting knocked down and getting back up.
Yeah. Coming up this week, you travel to Western, up in, I believe it's in Howard County, if I remember right. And
outside of Kokomo.
that's also a 4A team and a conference game. Do you prepare any different for a bigger school, or just
No.
anything different that you have to do?
No, it's the same. We treat it, from a coaching staff standpoint, we treat each opponent the same way. What can we do as a coaching staff, looking at obviously the film that we have on them? What can we do as a staff, to make sure that we do the best of our ability to put our kids in the best situations to be successful on Friday nights?
Probably going to have a little bit tougher game against Western than you had against Northwestern. What do you look for them to run at you, and what do you look for them to do
Honestly,
defensively?
it's going to be very similar to what we saw Northwestern-wise offensively. They're going to run a very similar offense to Northwestern. So we did get some practice with it this week. They're disciplined, and they run the ball a bunch. It's going to be run and run and run, and then it's going to run some more, and then they'll try and pass a little bit. But they're a running football team, and they're good at it. They're disciplined, and they pay attention to the details. Defensively, we'll probably see either 4-2-5 with a mix of some 3-4 looks, in between. They're a good football team. They're well coached. Coach Stewart over there has got them going. They're strong. And they just play good football. They're an overall well-rounded, competitive team every year. So we're going to have to play 4 quarters of football. Good football at that.
Well, good luck coming up Friday night at Northwestern. That will be a 7 o'clock start at Northwestern up there in not Northwestern. I got to get my mind back together. At Western, and I believe that's in Rushville, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. In that, so good luck in that game, and good luck for the rest of the season. And we'll be back with more coaches after this from Hamilton County Television.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville. If you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. I'm Brad Silbert, being joined by Guerin Eagles coach Tom Dilley. And Tom, Friday night, that game, first of all, I thought it was a good game. Unfortunately for you guys, you came out just a little bit short, but I thought you guys overall played a pretty doggone good game against a really, really good Brebeuf team.
No, we told our kids we were very proud of their effort. I'm sure a lot of the players know that there were things they could have done a little bit better, but it wasn't for lack of trying, and I think we learned some things from it. Same thing with the coaches. We'll learn from it as well and adjust some things and move on. It was a fun game.
What was the difference in the game, in your opinion?
Well, I want to give full credit to Brebeuf, Coach Ressler and his staff. They did a great job, but at the same time, we gave them a couple short fields that they were able to turn into points, and you can't make mistakes that we made, not converting on a fourth down and having a punting game issue. They gave them short fields, and you can't survive those things a lot of times against good teams.
But as for usual, the big three on offense did a great job for you.
Yeah, we had a big performance out of Bernie McGinnis, one of our senior wideouts, who he got 8 catches or somewhere in that vicinity, and made a couple great plays in the end zone and on the sideline, and just continues to play better every week, and plays like a senior, and he's having a great year. And Christian Gelov, our quarterback, I think threw for right around 240 maybe, and
234 yards.
yeah, rushed for another 75 maybe or 70 or so, and
18 for 26.
yeah, so he's having a great year and getting better every week, and those two guys have a good, nice connection. And then Gus Baumgartner, his numbers weren't all that glowing, but he made some huge yards for us in the run game, but also caught, I think, 3 or 4 balls out of the backfield.
Well, between Baumgartner and Gelov, they rushed combined for almost 150 yards.
Yeah, we had quite a few negative plays that kind of cut into that a little bit, but yeah, they both did a great job.
All too often, people see a score like 20 to 15 in that, and so much of the credit goes to the offense. I mean, the points going on the board. Let's talk about a little bit about your defense and talk about some of those guys up front and the people in the defenders you've got out there,
Sure.
Coach.
Yeah, I mean, our defense has played well all year. They played well almost all of the time on Friday. You know, they are still upset with a couple of plays that they thought they could have made, but again, they were put in some bad situations with short fields and still battled, and it wasn't easy for to score points against them, even for a good Brebeuf offense. Nick Simzak, our nose guard's been playing very well all year. Great hustle player, and is also real stout against the run. And, Nathan Fancher is a junior defensive end, and Alex Trernay, another junior defensive end, who are both very undersized, but they fight like crazy and they play really, really hard. Our 2 outside backers, Nick Demas and Ethan Sutton, have been great all year. And our 2 inside backers, we kind of jokingly call them the 56ers Club. If you're over 5'6", apparently you can't play linebacker for us. We've got some little guys, but they get around, and they've got to be a pain to try to get blocked because they're everywhere. Tom Hokinson and Jagger Albert, and that front 7 has done a really good job against the run. That'll certainly be tested this week, but they're working and trying to get better every day.
Let's talk a little bit about the Golden Eagle fans, the students, the overall atmosphere at your games. I've been out to your stadium on a number of occasions, and it's always been a very good atmosphere out there.
Absolutely, yeah. We love our fans and our student body and the community, and we can't thank them enough for supporting us. And I know they have a good time out there as well. It's quite a social event at our games, from what I understand. Obviously, you kind of block some of that stuff out, but sometimes you can't block them out completely. It's pretty noticeable. It's a fun atmosphere, and we've only had 1 home game so far, and it was a lot of fun. We're looking forward to getting back home again, but on the road again this week, and we've got a great challenge to go to Columbus North.
Yeah, 4 of your first 5 games on the road. That's got to be a challenge for you.
Yeah, and our scrimmage happened to be on the road this year too, so we just haven't been home much, and that was one reason I think that the 1 home game we had, the turnout was great, and the atmosphere seemed to be very festive because we just haven't been there much. But we'll get home again. We're not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to worry about getting ready this week and trying to play the best game we possibly can.
Of course, being in a smaller conference with only 4 teams there, you've actually only got 3 conference games, and the way the draw works out this year, 2 of those games are on the road.
Yeah.
And that you do have Chittard at home, and then a couple teams coming from Michigan in to see, and then finish your season against Ron Colley. Let's just talk a little bit about about the Circle City Conference. Great competition there.
Well, absolutely. Perennially very, very proud and well coached and talented and good programs, and it's a lot of fun to play them from the perspective of it's going to be good, hard-nosed, physical, well-coached football, and at schools where people really care about their programs, and the crowds are usually really good, and it's certainly tough because they're all good teams and they're going to be tested every week, but that's really what you ought to be after anyway. So, we really enjoy that schedule and look forward to those challenges. Again, first things first, we're going to worry about our next conference game when we get to it, but this week we have a really good Columbus North team. Yeah,
you travel to Columbus North for a 7 o'clock kickoff on Friday night. Talk a little bit about Columbus North and how you're preparing for them and what you expect to see from them.
Yeah, I mean, it'll start a little more in earnest tomorrow. I have a JV game tonight, and a lot of kids are in that, involved in that. And we're just trying to get better every day, and I know that's cliche, but that is what it is. We're certainly going to prepare our kids for what Columbus North does and their strengths, and attacking if we can find some weaknesses. It hasn't been easy so far. But the bottom line is we just need to do everything that we do better than we did it last week, and that's our challenge, and that's our kids have pledged to each other. That's what they're after every day, and that's what we'll expect. But we'll prepare for a very good Columbus North defense and a very physical Columbus North offense, and they're well coached across the board, and hopefully they'll say the same about us when we play, and we'll just go play. But
I remember a year ago that game came out in your favor, if I remember right.
It did. It's the first time we played them last year, and we had talking about it at our place, it was a really neat atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
It had been a tough week because we had a loss in the Golden Eagle football family that week, and it was a pretty emotional night. But the kids played great and battled, and I thought Columbus North played well too, and it was just a hard-fought game to the end, and we just happened to make a couple more plays.
Now, as a coach, in you being a 3A school, Columbus North being a 6A school, do you look at this game any differently or prepare anything differently because of the difference in the size of the school, or do you just try to take it as just another game on the schedule?
No, it's the next game, and it's critical. Now just like you would with anybody, you want to know what kind of depth they have, and what type of tactic makes sense against a team that does or doesn't have some depth, and does or doesn't have some size, and so all that's taken into account. But the fact that they're a 6A team and we're not, we really don't care. And I think our kids, it doesn't really matter to them. They're just going to do the best they can and get prepared to play the 11 they put out there.
Well, it seems that in looking at your schedule, you've got a 1A, you've got a 2A, a 3A, a 4A, a 5A, and a 6A in there.
We got them all.
You really mix it up there.
And a couple out of state too. So
yeah, in that. But then after Columbus, you come home for 3 games, a big conference game, and then a couple schools from Michigan coming down.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. But first things first.
Well, congratulations on. I can't say a victory, but I thought the game Friday night, I thought that was a really good game. Unfortunately, the Golden Eagles came out on the short end of the score, but as we were watching it in here Friday night on game day, we kept saying, come on. And we were pulling for you. That's Tom Dilley, head coach of the Guerin Catholic Golden Eagles. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back with more interviews with coaches after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville. If you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. I'm Brad Silbert, joined by the Dean of High School Football Coaches, none other than the world-famous Bud Wright. Bud, great to have you here. Let's just talk about this game against Delphi Friday night. That was quite a barn burner.
It was a real barn burner, right down to the very end.
It started out fairly even, but you guys, like, you really didn't trail in the game till toward the end of the game.
No, actually, they scored first.
Oh, that's right. I got it backwards here.
And then we went up, or we scored and tied it, and they scored, went up 13-7. We scored, went up 14-13, and then we went up 21-13, and they came back and took the lead at 27 to.
Yeah, they scored 2 touchdowns there in the third quarter.
Yeah, third quarter got up, and we came back and scored 15 points in the last quarter and got the winning touchdown with 26 seconds to go.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but let's just talk about the offensive performance for your team.
Had a pretty good performance offensively. We had 407 yards rushing and 128 yards passing. But we're going to have to work on that defense a little bit, it looks like. We gave up quite a few yards, at least through the air. We gave 357 yards up through the air, only 33 yards on the ground. But anyway, it was a big night, back and forth, and it was one of those fun games.
Looks like young Mr. Hovey had a good game, too.
Yeah, we had 2 running backs go out in the first part of the first quarter. Our starting wing and our starting fullback both went out. So Hovey had to carry the load for him. So he carried the ball quite a few times.
I've got him down here for 48 carries. How many yards do you think he had?
318.
318 to be exact.
That
is an amazing performance.
Yeah, that's. I think the most carries I've ever had has been like 52 by a kid. He had 48. I had no idea he had that many carries because, like we say, we were putting him all over the place, trying to make up for the 2 guys out, and he came through for us.
71 points scored between both of the teams here, and as you said, this thing was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and offensively not decided until basically the last play of the game.
Last play.
Let's talk about that last series as you're coming down the field.
Well, they scored. We were up 28-27. We scored with 5:12 to go,
Mm-hmm.
and went up 28-27.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the guy that's all we have to do is stop them, and we can run the clock out because they can't stop us. But they scored pretty quick. I mean, they went down and scored with 2:16 to go, and they scored, went for 2 and got it. So they went up 35-28.
Mm-hmm.
And they kicked off, and we got the ball on the 24-yard line, 1 timeout, with 2:14 to go, and we drove down and got a score. We got a big pass. Christian Clausen, sophomore receiver, caught a 47-yard pass to set it up, and then we went in and scored. And I used the 1 timeout then because I was saving it, and
Now, how much time is on the clock at this point?
16 seconds.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 26 seconds.
Okay.
26 seconds to go, and I called my timeout, and I went out and I told the kids, I said, okay, this is your season, your game. I said, you want to go for the win or go kick for the tie and go to overtime? And they unanimously said they wanted to go for the win, and so we called it, and we ran the option, and the quarterback went in untouched. So.
What an amazing story. Just an amazing game.
But it actually wasn't over yet. We kicked off, and they got a nice return, and they drove down, and with 5 seconds to go, they attempted a 44-yard field goal, but it was short and a little wide. So we came out with a victory.
And you see 71 points on the board between the two teams, and you think, gosh, there couldn't have been a whole lot of defense out there, but there had to be a little bit.
Defensively, like I say, we shut the run down completely, but they had a good passing attack, and we got our defensive backs got confused a little bit, and they got frustrated, and we gave up a lot of open passes.
What amazed me on this, Coach, was in looking at the stats, Delphi, if I've got my numbers right here, had a total of 90 net yards in the game, and they still managed to put 35 points on the board.
No, they had 357 passing and 33 rushing.
Okay.
So they had to.
Oh, I've got a.
Excuse me.
Yeah, excuse. There is a typo here. I'm sorry. That's.
Yeah.
I've only got the document I hear says 57.
Yeah, they had 357 passing, and we had 407 rushing. But we had 128 passing, and they only had 33 rushing. So.
Well, that answers a
came
lot.
out of
That does answer a few questions there, because I was looking at that, what I thought was 57 in that. Talk about the defense in the game. How did, in your estimation overall, how did they do?
Well, we went over that pretty heavy tonight, practice and such there. And I think we reverted back to a lot of things we did last summer. And I thought we were past some of that stuff, but I guess we're not. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and do some things as far as defense is concerned. Because we're going against another passing team this week, and they have the wide open attack also. So we're going to have to make some adjustments someplace.
Speaking of this week, it'll be Clinton Prairie coming to visit, and that will be a 7:30 start on Friday.
It's 7.
Okay, the document I had says 7:30. I've got all kinds of erroneous information
I
here.
guess so.
I'm glad you're here to straighten me out, bud. Thank you.
Okay.
Talk a little bit about Clinton Prairie and what you expect from them offensively and defensively.
Well, Clinton Prairie, they are offensively like the wide open attack. They go with 4 wide receivers. They go a lot with trips on one side and a wide receiver on the other side, and a quarterback and the gun with an offset back. And the quarterback's a good passer and a good runner, and the running back's pretty solid. And they throw the ball all over the place, and they do a lot of RPO stuff with the quarterback and running back and stuff there. So they'll be a challenge for us. They got a nice ball club.
How about
Plus,
defensively?
they're really big. Defensively, their front line is, get this, 395, 6'6". You got a 6'1", 295, and another one that's I think is like 5'11", 250.
Boy, there's some size and some beef out there, isn't there?
Yeah, they play a 4-3 defense, and they like to say those. The other is not quite that big, but he's a pretty good sized kid also. And they got some good linebackers, and they got a nice ball club. Like I say, they got a little bit of speed. I don't know. They got beat by Attica game 2, and I don't know what happened to them in that ball game, because they look pretty good as far as the 2 films we have on them.
Yeah, both these teams are coming in here for this game. They'll be they're both 3-1, so
Right.
pretty evenly matched.
And it's a conference game also.
Yeah, should be an exciting conference game up there. It's your place up in Sheridan.
Yeah, they haven't lost a conference game yet, and we haven't lost a conference game yet. So, it'll be a slugfest.
This is going to be an important game for you guys, isn't it?
Right. The next few weeks are going to be pretty important for
Yeah.
our kids as far as conference goes.
Well, we'll go over the halfway point next Friday night.
We got by the big hurdle there with Delphi, because actually coming into the season, most people had picked Delphi to win the conference, and now they've lost 2 games in the conference. So this is their first year in, so they're learning that Hoosier Conference is a little bit tougher than what they thought maybe. Hoosier
Well,
Heartland.
you guys, Eastern and Clinton Prairie are all in the conference with no defeats. You got 3
Right.
wins. The other 2 have got 2 wins. So
Right.
it looks like the Blackhawks are off to a good start.
Yeah,
Coach
hopefully.
Bud Wright, Sheridan Blackhawks, thank you for being with us, sir.
Well, thank
and
you
good
for
luck
having
in
me.
your game Friday night against Delphi. Yep, Friday night they played Delphi. They're playing Clinton Central this Friday night.
Good Prairie.
One of these days I'll get this right. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Clinton Prairie, 7 o'clock in
Right.
Sheridan.
That's right.
We'll be back with Coach Adam Morris after this.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm looking for Logan Street signs and banners.
You found us.
But this ain't Logan Street. This is South 10th.
We moved 22 years ago.
Well, how come you didn't change the name?
That would have just confused people.
Well, actually, South 10th is Allisonville. If you're from Fishers.
Well, before that it was 37A, and before that it was State Road 37.
So you're telling me that Logan Street signs and banners isn't on Logan Street anymore. It's actually on South 10th. That's Allisonville and Fishers. And before that, it was 37A and 37?
So you got that straight?
Logan Street signs and banners conveniently not located on Logan Street, but rather South 10th Street in Noblesville.
Exactly.
Can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to order a hamburger, fries, salt, maybe a large vanilla shake. Yeah.
This is a trophy shop, can't you tell?
You got a counter right here. Isn't this where you place the orders?
We sell trophies, we sell plaques, we do embroidery. No food.
You got carry out?
Unlike the internet, everything that you need we have here at the shop. Very unique. You order today, carry out tonight. That's our version of carry out.
All right, I'll take one of everything.
Well, that may take a little longer. We'll have it for you tomorrow night.
You know, Jim, I'll be back tomorrow to pick it all up.
We'll wait for you.
Don't wait long.
Welcome back to the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. I'm joined now by Hamilton Southeastern head coach Adam Morris. Coach, it was a rough night for the Royals over at Fishers, but an exciting night for the community in any way you look at it when it comes to Mudsock.
Yeah, always special, and our program knows that and appreciates that win or lose. Obviously frustrating, kind of a tale of two halves. Did some good things in the first half, and then in the second half, just thought, in my opinion, the maturity level of the programs, I think you just saw where they are compared to where we were, and they wear us down in the second half, and we just kind of fell into their game. We can't get first downs. They're eating up clock. They're running the football, and you have to give them all the credit.
Yeah, I was watching that game from over here on game night, and I thought the first half, things were kind of going back and forth there, and I thought this is going to be an interesting lead, or an interesting second half. But it seems like the Tigers were able to make some adjustments at halftime that you guys just couldn't quite catch up to.
Yeah, in the first half, offensively, I felt like we moved the ball, had a couple good runs, completed some good passes. Against a team like Fishers and their style of play, if you go down in the red zone and come away with no points, it's going to be hard to win as the game progresses, and we did that twice in the first half. And then the second half, the turnovers, just kind of some critical errors offensively and defensively, some mental mistakes. And then I thought the real story of the game in the second half was they just wore us down running the football, and we struggled to get off blocks and make some plays, and they were grinding out first downs. And they're a good team. They're going to have success, play really good defense, really physical, run the football. You're going to set yourself up to be successful in 6A.
You guys still did gain a substantial amount of yardage in the game. The total yardage, I believe, for the game was 352, if I'm not mistaken, and that's not a bad performance against a defense like Fishers.
Yeah, I feel like we had some explosive plays. Nate Wolf had a couple nice catches. DeAndre Rhodes, Ben Boyson had some good runs as well, but I felt like there were some critical errors. Against a defense like them, you can't fall behind the chains. In the second half, opening drive, have some penalties, have some holding calls, just some stuff. Once you get behind the chains with the defense like them and as aggressive as they are, you're going to struggle, and I thought that's what happened.
Let's talk about a couple of the offensive stars of the game. Obviously, Hobson had a good game. I believe he was 20 for 38 in the game. By standards, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the HCC.
Yeah, I think he played a little better in the first half than the second half. But to be honest, except for maybe the second half of that game, we have been pleased with him. He's been accurate. He's led us. I think he's really comfortable with the offense. Has a good feel and timing with some of our receivers. I just think collectively at the skill positions in the second half, even some things just alignment and routes, and we just didn't play well second half. But we still feel good about those kids. We feel good about Andrew. We've got all the confidence in the world in him and our receivers. We just got to play better and keep improving.
You got 3 good receivers out there too.
Yeah, we have DeAndre Rhodes is really good. I think he's really on people's radar now, especially as much as we've targeted him here early. Ben Boyson, DeAndre is kind of the bigger go up and get the ball type receiver. Ben is a kid who we want to get the ball to in space, and we got to keep finding ways to do that. Tony Myers is a kid who's really came along here the last few weeks, caught a touchdown pass against Avon, has definitely improved. And then I think the receiver that's really kind of came along is Nate Wolf, our tight end, H-back. Played really well in that first game against LC. Is really a program kid. I would say he's had as good an offseason as any player in our program. Changed his body. And we've been really impressed with him catching the football and even what he's done after the catch. It's not really what our favorite part about him. We love how he blocks. He's a tough kid. He's physical, but he's done really well in the passing game, and it's been great to see.
Well, one of them that I've been kind of keeping an eye on is Ben Boyson. I've often remarked to people, well, if he caught a 10-yard pass, he probably ran 25 or 30 yards because of the way he gains the yardage, and he just seems to have a way to avoid the tacklers at times too. Yeah,
he's probably the most dynamic kid in our program with the ball in his hands, and we got to continue to find ways to get him the football in the passing game, and I think we have to make sure we're doing the things. We got to try and find ways for people to defend both of them, defend DeAndre and Ben, and that can be hard to do. It's definitely the strength of our team, strength of our program right now is who we have throwing to them, and then those 2 guys at receiver.
Let's talk about the defense. You got a pretty sizable defensive line and a lot of good talent there at linebacker too.
Yeah, Chris Steins played well for us this year. I think our biggest issue right now defensively is just the depth. We've had 2 or 3 injuries at linebacker. We had a crucial injury at the defensive line with someone who I think will get back here in the coming weeks, Savon Smith, who's a really good player. But I definitely felt like we felt his loss on Friday. To have another body, an older kid, a senior defensive lineman in that game against that offensive line that they have, I really felt like we felt his loss as the game progressed.
Let's talk a little bit about what's coming up Friday night. Not only homecoming, but also Westfield.
Yeah. Probably the most complete offense that we've seen so far this year. Cam Simons, the quarterback, is an unbelievable player. Played really well against us last year. And I think since that point, since last season, he's been one of the better quarterbacks in the area. He's a senior. He's a big kid, physical kid, can run it, really accurate throwing it. That they've got 2 backs who run really hard, receivers who are good in space. I think the strength of their football team is the offensive line, though. They're all big. They're really well coached. You can tell when you watch them. And I think the thing that's incredible about them is just how physically imposing they are, tackle to tackle. And then
Jake Gilbert has always got a good physical team. In all the years he's coached here, every year, regardless whether it's a good year or an off year, they're tough.
And and just between at HSC and previous places, I think this is probably the most complete that group's been since I've been here. They've had 2 or 3 good guys, but now you're talking about all 5 guys who are returning starters who've had playing time. With those backs and experienced quarterback, I mean, they're set up to be successsul. And then any Westfield team is always going to be a good defensive team as well.
What does your offense have to do to get to the goal line and get into the end zone against the Shamrocks?
We can't put ourselves behind in the chains. I think that was the thing that was most frustrating. Some of the administrative penalties, I would call them, the delay games and not getting lined up correctly that we did in the second half. Again, can't do against a Westfield team. Got to be more consistent running the football. I just think the big thing is just staying on schedule and getting first downs. And we've had some explosive plays, had some long passes, but I think we got to find a way string together some drives, string together some first downs, to take some time off the clock, to keep our defense off the field. I think long-term for our program, that's what will set us up for success.
For the defensive success against the Shamrocks, what do you guys have to do?
Yeah. They're a challenge. All the RPO stuff that they do, they do some really cool stuff in the backfield and the run game. They challenge it in a lot of ways. You know, I think we got to contain the run game, some of the read game that they do. I think the big thing is the explosive plays. They've had some explosive plays to some receivers on the perimeter, some long runs. We got to make sure that we don't give up too many chunk plays. They do a really good job with tempo. They'll try to speed it up on you. They'll slow it down. So I think it's the big plays, finding ways to kind of bleed the clock. And I think if we limit the chunk plays, we'll be okay.
Try to keep them off the field, in other words.
And keep them off the field offensively, too. That'll be a big deal, sure.
Well, good luck in that game coming up Friday night. That will be at Hamilton Southeastern. IHSAA TV will be there to broadcast that, as well as your Southeastern Sports Network, and we'll be featuring that on game day here, so we will be watching that. This is Coach Adam Morris, head coach of the Hamilton Southeastern Royals. Coach, thank you for joining us tonight, and good luck against the Shamrocks. And speaking of the Shamrocks, Perry Williams had an opportunity to catch up with Shamrocks head coach Jake Gilbert early today, and here's their talk.
Well, welcome to the Hamilton County Coaches Show. I'm Perry Williams, and alongside me today is Jake Gilbert, the head football coach at Westfield. Coach, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me, Perry.
4-0. We're still rolling here,
Still
right?
going, absolutely.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Friday night's football game. It looked like a huge crowd. I happened to be doing studio work and doing game day, so I had two other guys here broadcasting, Jack Russell and Craig Atkins, but we were following the game and everything, and it looked like a huge crowd.
It was an enormous crowd, a great atmosphere. It was maybe as good as we've had. It was just such a festive. It was youth night. We raised $2,000 for Tackle Childhood Cancer, which goes straight to Riley's Children's Hospital. We, honored all of our youth players and were able to get a win against a good team. So it was a great night.
Absolutely. Well, Westfield came out on top, 34-14, and as usual in the first four games, you always get that good start, okay? And you were pretty, you got 13 points that first quarter, and then the rest of the night you got 7, 7, 7. So,
sure.
Cam Simons had a great night last night, right?
Yeah.
Friday night.
I think he was 21 for 26, 4 touchdowns, so outstanding. We ran him some. We didn't overdo it with the Q rush game, but he's extraordinary. I mean, he's completing 73% of his passes on the season, and that's amazing. I think he has 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, which was a tip pass Friday night.
And those things are going to happen, but as long as you can keep that, that interception number down, the better off you are.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But because that turnover ratio is huge, and with you this season, with him only throwing 1 interception, and you have 6 interceptions, I believe, on the season. So, yeah.
I know we're +7.
Yeah.
In the giveaway takeaway, which is awesome.
Yeah, I didn't have the fumbles, but I'm pretty sure that the numbers I looked at this morning, you had 6 interceptions.
That sounds about right.
So, yeah, it's been. Well, let's talk a little bit about that game because Heiser had another great game, both sides of the ball. I mean, so let's talk a little bit about some of the players and some of those guys up front too.
Well, like you said, we got off to a great start. Game plans were good. The defense was very solid all night. The 14 points we gave up, 7 were off of a blocked field goal that was scooped and scored for a touchdown. And then we had the tip pass, and Noblesville took over at the 7-yard line and scored a touchdown. But really, defensively, we probably had our best game. And so the goal has been to hang in there and improve. And I think we're doing that. We had pretty good defensive line play. Thought they just played harder. Alan White was very good for us. Mark McLaurin, Savion Woodsdale, those are our defensive tackles. Seth Martin played well at the end. Popeye Williams played hard. There was just some good stuff there. We moved Owen Ogle out to end. So the big guys you were referencing, we felt like the defensive line had a good, solid game. And we thought we were good at safety, and that was good. So Micah Hauser had 2 interceptions. He's his normal self, led us in tackles, and had 2 interceptions. Not bad for a sophomore.
No.
And then we moved a kid to safety, and Carson Vorse, who's been a starting wide receiver for us. He's a junior, excellent body, great competitive motor, plays so hard that I just wanted to see him on defense a little bit. Didn't feel like he was quite playing as much as he probably deserves to based on his character and work ethic and ability. And I thought he really showed up and played hard, so we're excited going forward to be able to add him to the safety mix as well.
Well, that's great, Coach. Let's go ahead and switch to talking about this Friday's game. Okay?
Sure.
And talk a little bit about your game against Hamilton Southeastern this Friday at Southeastern. And you and I talked before we went on air. This is an awful good 1-3 football team. So.
Oh yeah, they've played a great schedule. They've played 2 MIC teams. Really, they were beating North Central the entire time until the end. Lost on the last second field goal. They beat Lawrence Central. They lost to an outstanding Fishers team. So those are 3 really good opponents. And then Avon is ranked number 1 in the state, and they only lost to Avon by 8 points. So this team is really good. They have on both sides of the ball a few guys who I think are pretty special and just excellent players, and those guys give problems to whoever they play.
Well, it's going to be interesting on Friday night also, as you have a really balanced attack. When I figured the numbers up this morning, rushing you have 933 yards and passing 828. So you're pretty a balanced attack. But playing Southeastern, they're more heavily loaded to the passing game, but they also have a fine quarterback and several receivers that can catch the football.
Yeah, they're doing what they should.
Yeah.
Because those guys are great. 86 and 11, they're explosive players on the perimeter. Number 12 is a nice piece. He's very good. And the quarterback is good. So I think if that was our team, we'd probably call the same plays.
Yeah.
They're very good in the passing game for sure.
Absolutely. The one advantage, I guess, is Simons is very, very efficient in passing.
Yeah.
734 clip for percentage of completions is excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just think, that second year for a starting quarterback, and not just our program, but any program, when you have a senior who is a returning starter, they just have that position is so important. So when a guy has that much control over the game and the team and the outcome and is just comfortable and relaxed back there, it really helps. I try to rattle him at halftime a little bit so the other guys could hear that I actually get on him every once in a while too. And it's just unflappable. He's about perfect. We are just so grateful to have him and his leadership and his character, and we've been waiting on him for years, and it's his senior year, and I'm enjoying it for one. So I truly love just watching him play the game of football.
Yeah, and like you said, he's been around the program for a while. He's a very intelligent football player, okay, and does a great job. And it helps when you as a coach have had him for a few years,
sure,
and your staff and you know what buttons you can push and what buttons you can't push, or push to the limit and stuff like that. So
and you understand how to use them, So every player has strengths and weaknesses, but Cam has kind of quarterbacked here since 4th grade. Then when I got here, and I just feel like I've seen him play so many times. We have a really good understanding of how he can help us win, and
sure,
he's been doing that obviously.
And he stays within that comfort zone pretty well too.
He does great. Yeah,
and does whatever.
Does not
you're
make
asking.
very many mistakes.
Yeah, like what we talked about, only 1 interception this season, and that was a tip ball. Those are things that isn't much he can do about it.
Correct.
So, but it's one game at a time here with Southeastern. And like we said, it's probably one of the best 1-3 teams you'll face, and
Yeah, absolutely.
so it's kind of interesting. But it's kind of interesting in Hoosier Crossroad Conference. I mean, we got some really, really good teams at the top with Fishers, Avon, Westfield, and that game with Brownsburg. I mean, you and I were talking before. I thought that the Avon Brownsburg game this past week would be a high scoring game, and certainly was not that. So
Yeah, I think that just makes it scarier.
yeah.
That just means those two teams are great on offense and defense.
Yeah. So that's kind of important, Coach. Well, to me it's a little bit different when you go on the road in football. I know that Southeastern will have a good crowd and everything, and you'll take a good crowd, but in basketball, I think it sometimes plays to the advantage to play at home. But in football, do the kids feel it that much, or especially with the way you travel? I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to admit it, but I do think we're a little bit better at home. We just have such a great environment because we have an enormous student section, and people come out and watch us, and the Jumbotron, and music and all that stuff. It's just so fun, and so many people come to the games that how could that not give you a lot of energy? So when you're on the road, your source of energy has to be something different. So we don't talk about that part for our team as much, but yes, your leadership, your energy, it really has to be more about your love for each other, and kind of like a foxhole mentality, even if it's just you're going to play a football game 30 minutes away.
Yeah, right. And and the one thing about it is that this atmosphere at Westfield, if people haven't come to a home game here, they need to do that just for the experience, because there's so much. Because you've coached college football and things like that, so this is to the level of kind of D1 football.
It's pretty
excitement.
Sweet.
It's pretty spectacular of what you guys
Yeah,
can do.
the Jumbotron and the student section and all that. I mean, it's. I think it's a pretty good deal. Yeah, it seems like everyone's having a good time. I'm not sure if anyone actually is watching the game, but they certainly enjoy being there, and so it's an honor. And I tell that to our kids all the time. I mean, think about how many people, 5,000 people come out here to watch you play a game and support you. And then when the game's over, they all run out on the sideline to greet you, and think, what a big honor that is, an opportunity for a powerful platform to make a difference and do some good things. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a great job, and we're blessed to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be from Westfield, Indiana.
Yes, sir.
Right?
It is.
All right, Coach. Well, good luck going to Southeastern, and hopefully we're back here next week talking about the 5-0 Rocks.
That would be great. Yes.
Right.
Can't wait.
Well, thanks a lot, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. Go Rocks.
Fans, here's a reminder, a lot more sports action coming up this week on Hamilton County Television starting Wednesday night with IHSAA Varsity Soccer. It'll be Zionsville coming over to White River Elementary School to meet the Noblesville Millers. That starts at 7 o'clock. Dan Axe and I will be there for that one. Friday night, catch Jerry Baker and Perry Williams from Noblesville as the Zionsville Eagles varsity football team comes in. That all starts at 7. Also at 7, we have Hamilton County Television Game Day. Multiple games, as you'll be able to see on the screen. One of the games will be Hamilton County Television's presentation of Zionsville and Noblesville. Other games include the IHSAA TV meeting of Westfield at Hamilton Southeastern, Indiana SRN's game, which is Decatur Central at Mooresville, and the Fisher Sports Network presentation of Fishers at Brownsburg. On behalf of Jim Wofford and Perry Williams, thank you for joining us for the Hamilton County Football Coaches Show. I'm Brad Silbert. Good night.